Hello and welcome back to Lombardi Sweep, a Green Bay Packers podcast powered by Flurry Sports. It's been a couple weeks. We'll see how many hiccups we have here. Joining me is Luke Reimer and Trevor Land. Janet Wilson should be here making I don't even know the word. I don't have a good word in mind here. An abrupt entrance. It'll be like a Stone Cold Steve Austin glass breaking entrance, I'm sure. We'll see. Today, obviously, we're approaching training camp, what we will be doing, talking about some of the training camp battles we can expect to see from the Packers. There's quite a bit of positions I feel like are up for grabs, undecided, even as far as starters. So we will talk about that. But first, I do sort of want to show this Aaron Rodgers clip here. Adam Schefter, again, back in the news, surprise, surprise, telling us how Aaron Rodgers feels, which I'm so happy Adam Schefter is such close friends with Aaron Rodgers and knows exactly how he feels. It's great and timely every time he jumps in and comes up with new news. It's pretty great. So I recently rewatched an interview, one of my favorite interviews with him. It was from 2019, GQ. He sat down with another Wisconsin legend, Justin Vernon from Bon Iver. They talk about life. They talk about fame and each other's processes and being masters in what they do. Essentially, it's a really good interview. But there is a minute clip in the beginning that Rodgers talks about privacy and he talks about freedom. And I thought this really tied in well to this offseason. And I just wrote an article on flurrysports.org if you want to check it out, where I write a little bit more about that specifically. And we can get into that here. Have either of you seen this interview before?
Yeah, I remember watching it, but you tweeted out, Zach, just it kind of reminded me of it. Kind of forgot about it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it's one. Right. And it's one I feel like a lot of people even didn't see. I think it's a good one if you want to go check that out. But let's watch it here. And then I just want to know your guys' thoughts, because I know I have thoughts clearly, but I don't know if I am a minority in the thoughts that I have, So let's check this out first.
I think by nature I'm a private person, and when that privacy is infringed upon, kind of attacks what you think is your structural, boundaries or whatever. And I think the freedom comes when you kind of get rid of those boundaries and you find comfort in not being locked away or being a hermit or introvert, because by nature I would like to be an extrovert. I would like to be out and about. I enjoy my alone time, but I think some of that fame and notoriety just kind of made me withdraw a little more, and that's where I didn't want to be. And I think once I embraced it all and put it in the place that it was, because I think our society glorifies fame and notoriety, and there's a lot of stuff that comes with it. I didn't grow up thinking I want to be rich and famous. I said I just want to be a great quarterback. There's a lot of stuff that comes with it. Some incredible, and some that are tough that you have to learn to embrace.
That you won't be prepared for no matter what.
Not at all.
So, Trevor, you can start here because I cut you off before. I apologize. But just listening to that, for me personally, it sings a lot and talks a lot about this offseason personally. But do you listen to that minute clip and connect anything to this offseason, or am I reading or connecting too much where it just doesn't need to be?
It connects perfectly to what we've been saying the whole offseason. He's just enjoying his time, and he figures, what's the point of even answering again, right? Because when he talks, nobody listens to him. He's talked about being at peace with yourself. I can't think of any better way to do that than being in Hawaii with your new fiance, just engaged. Like, dude, just living the time of his life. He's having fun. You could see it, at the match. Obviously, he was cracking some jokes. He was being a little cheeky when they asked him questions about that there. Dude's just enjoying life, and he realizes that with the way the media is, no matter what he says, they're not going to listen. So what's the point? And I think that clip too perfectly sums up his attitude. Just tells you there's no reason to panic because he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, those were kind of I had similar thoughts as you, Trevor. Just kind of going off of it, I think, or I almost wonder that, you know, people in the media have become such accustomed to outspoken voices, whether it be, who's ever making the noise at the time. I mean, I can't think of anyone, but let's say Antonio Brown, and they paint a picture of Antonio Brown using media, right? To put whatever story they want, whatever spin they want on the story. I think that they're trying to do that, and I think people are starting to see through it with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is not Antonio Brown. He's not outspoken. He's not this guy who's all up in the media, getting in trouble, or blaming refs or anything like that. He's just a guy who seems like he wants to go out and play football, wants people to listen to him, and I think that's what's happening. But I think that the whole media took this over and said Rodgers is a dictator here. Just because he wants one thing doesn't mean he can always get it. Blah blah blah. Even though it seems to me that this hasn't really occurred in Rodgers' career in the past.
Well, and if I can relate that, I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing with Giannis in the finals too. He's averaging 40 and 10. We're talking about his free throw, the time it takes for a free throw. Chris Middleton doesn't talk out. We're talking about, how he's a borderline superstar. Devin Booker doesn't really talk out. We're talking about fucking ex relationship with a Jenner. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too deep into this Aaron Rodgers situation again, and again, I read the article that I wrote on flurrysports.org. I go deeper and not as deep as I could. I'm not saying this clip speaks to the feud with the front office, because it doesn't. But I think it speaks to his actions this offseason, in that this was a private feud, which happens constantly, and it happened constantly in the past with Rodgers, like with everybody, with every player, especially superstars. He is a private person. He wanted to keep it behind closed doors. The Packers wanted to make it public because they wanted to, or at least some people wanted to trade him. Did it on draft day. They wanted to get his trade value. They wanted to receive calls. It's obvious. That's what they wanted to happen. It's just clear. Then more things kept getting public at certain times, not all at once, because that would be too easy. It was strategic. It's very much dividing the fan base. It's very much trying to paint Rodgers in a certain light, and especially when a large majority of the Packers organization wants to move forward with a younger quarterback that they invested in and they have a lot banked up in. It's hard to move on from an MVP. It's hard to move on from someone who is the greatest that has probably ever played the game. So you have to do something to turn the fan base. You have to do something to ease the pain of getting him out the door. And what better way to do it than to have the media on your side, to have ESPN on your side, to have, the people who talk about sports every day, all day, pushing a certain narrative. That's what happened. And again, Rodgers could have destroyed Gutekunst. He could have come out public and said, no, I didn't say this, I didn't do that. He could have destroyed them. And we continue to see him try to keep stuff behind closed doors, trying to keep control of the situation. And if it continues to come public, he's for sure gone. If the more it stays quiet, the more likely he is to come back, more likely it is that there's an agreement. Do I think he comes back for this season? Yes. Do I believe he's a Packer next year? I don't. But, he certainly could be. Yeah. Anything else before we head on to training camp battles here?
Yeah, Aaron, we know you're listening. Big fan of Lombardi Sweep. If you're listening and you agree, and if we just nailed it down, don't like the tweet. Don't make it too obvious for these guys.
Right.
Don't make another article. Just see it. Just keep scrolling. We will get the memo.
And as I said in the article as well, I know people from ESPN read my stuff and other people like that. I would love for you to cite me on the things I say. And also stop telling us how Aaron Rodgers feels, because I'd much rather listen to him than Adam Schefter.
Luke and I said he's coming back based off of a light in Matt LaFleur's office. And that honestly had more backing for Aaron Rodgers coming back than anything Schefter has said in the past 5 months.
That's fair. Okay, let's move on to training camp starting at the end of the month here. There's a lot that is up for grabs on the Packers. Let's start with the offense. And I think offensive line's a big deal. Let's talk about that. If we assume David Bakhtiari is healthy, there are 4 locks on the offensive line. Bakhtiari at left tackle, Jenkins at guard, the rookie Myers is going to be center, Billy Turner is going to play right tackle. So it's that right guard spot that is truly up for grabs. Lucas Patrick started there last year. He's the veteran. It's a battle between him, Johnny Runyon, and the rookie Royce Newman. I don't know how much you guys truly feel about this battle. I've been on record saying it needs to be Lucas Patrick that wins this job. If he doesn't, I think it could be disastrous for the line, but he could be a cap casualty as well. I do think he's going to win it. I think Runyon is a good depth piece. I don't think Royce Newman is a good football player, but he's versatile, I guess, in his poor play. But I mean, he's obviously making the team. He's what, 4th round pick? But yeah, he's just a special teams guy, to be completely honest. Do you guys have any thoughts about this one? This one feels pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I was going to agree with you, Zach. I like the order that you put it in with Patrick, then Runyon, then Newman. I think especially like hypothetically, if Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, I would think it would make more sense to put Lucas Patrick there, just with the experience, rather than have Jordan Love under center with a rookie guard with Aaron Donald lining up right over him. So it would make sense to me that Lucas Patrick should take it. He's played there how many times in the last couple of years? And like you said, Runyon's a depth guy. If there's one thing in football, you can't have too many offensive linemen because they're going up against the best athletes on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and will never say I'm a very good analyst in offensive linemen. It's okay to not know everything. That's why I kind of usually cede my knowledge to Zach and have him tell me how to feel. But even from like a guy who doesn't really know how to analyze offensive linemen, it's really not hard to see he's not a good football player when he constantly whiffs at guys running right at him.
Royce Newman, you say?
Yeah. I feel like the audience could tell, but just in case, Royce Newman, he's not a good football player. He shouldn't have been drafted. At least this early, maybe not at all. He shouldn't be on the team. And Billy Turner has been there. Like that experience means something, especially when, as far as Bakhtiari is, especially when he's still probably going to be out. You need that. And I'm afraid that the Packers are going to say, well, we drafted him. We can't look stupid. And they're going to make a move with Newman so that they don't look bad.
And if Bakhtiari is out week 1, the assumption I would say is Jenkins slides to left tackle and then they put Runyon at left guard. So it'd be Runyon, Myers, and then Patrick going left to right, which is inexperienced, but it is what it is. And Turner, I think, is a lock at that right tackle. To be completely honest, there are good right tackles available if the Packers so choose to sign a free agent. They won't, but there are very good ones. Turner's just a more natural tackle to me. I don't think he's very good at guard. I think he just plays a lot better at right tackle, and it's better to keep him there. Let's talk about wide receiver, though. This one's a little bit more interesting. So I don't know how many the Packers plan on keeping, especially with tight ends. Packers love to keep a ton of tight ends. But I would assume Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, MVS, Amari Rodgers, Devin Funchess are locks to make the roster. Then at that point, I would think it's just one more wide receiver that makes the team personally. So it's between Equinemius St. Brown, Malik Taylor, Jawan Winfrey, who's a free agent acquisition, 6th rounder for Denver in 2019. And then, of course, Trevor's favorite and yours, Bailey Gaither from San Jose State. Luke, if you had to pick one out of that group, who do you think is going to be the 6th wide receiver? Or do you think they possibly keep 7? And then at that point, who do you think?
So back when we drafted Equanimeous St. Brown, I absolutely loved it because I love, like, I'm a big USC receiver guy. It always seems like USC has awesome receivers. Equanimeous St. Brown out of USC, I was all excited for it, yada, yada. I thought the guy oozed talent, but obviously that has not shown very much. He doesn't really do much other than run around. Even when he's open, sometimes Rodgers, from what I've seen, I don't know, it might be a small sample size, but I saw Rodgers look away from him. But Malik Taylor, I like Malik Taylor. I think he plays well on special teams. I know it's kind of odd to grab a receiver just for special teams. Maybe not well on special teams, but he was a guy who could at least field kicks and punts. I don't know what their plan is with that. But if I had to pick one of those 4, I'm going with Malik Taylor, just because I think I've seen enough of him. I don't think he's going to do anything to particularly harm the team, rather than make a huge play. I think he's just going to be there like EQ, but I think he brings a little bit more than EQ. And I agree with you, Zach. I think they go tight end heavy here this year because I talked about in a couple shows ago. I think it's a big running year for him. I think they get back to the run, and I think that means much more blocking. And I don't know. It seems like a big tight end year for me.
I agree that EQ's got to go. I mean, when he plays, he's not good. That's when he plays. He's hurt damn near more than half the time, like 80% of the time. And when he does, he has a pretty high drop percentage. Granted, small sample size, but still. For me, I'd go Juwan Winfrey. Partly because I want to see how long it takes Domofsky and actual writers who are paid to write on them, how long it takes them to actually spell his name right. The other part, I can see the Packers pushing Rodgers out the door sooner rather than later. I don't know much, but I don't know. Just seeing, I got to go off the small stuff I can get from Love, and he made one good throw to Winfrey. I don't know. That's better than I can say for the other wide receivers. So as much as I love my San Jose State guy, I got to go Winfrey.
It'll be interesting to see if Gaither does keep making plays once pads are on, because he was making highlights left and right in minicamp, but of course that doesn't mean anything. And some of those highlights were with Blake Bortles, and everything he does is a highlight.
The highlight maker.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I do think they go 6 wide receivers. I can't imagine they go 7. And what I think they will do is different than what I think they will do. For some reason, I just think they're going to stick with EQ. I think they feel like they have more invested in him than they do. And there's no doubt that he has upside. His big thing has just been health, and he's been hurt, and he can't train in the off seasons because he's been hurt until this year. He's still incredibly raw. He can't really run routes. To your point, he does have drops. And while he would be the perfect practice squad guy, I think they're more thinking he's going to be a 6 wide receiver guy. My choice, I would rather have Juwan Winfrey. I personally like him a lot. I think he made some really nice plays in Denver, actually. Malik Taylor has done nothing but be solid and produce. So I think he's, if we want to go who's the safest, I think no doubt it's Taylor. I think Winfrey provides the most upside, and EQ's a developmental piece, but there's only so many players you can try to develop at once.
Well, and he's a 6th rounder, 5th rounder. Looks like 5th rounder, one of those, or no, that's MVS, my bad. A 6th rounder. So, I mean, and a late one at that. So, to your point, I don't know why they feel like they have much invested in him, because they really don't. It's not like they made a bad decision and anybody dropped past them that would have been better. I mean, it seems like a home run hit, but they'll probably swing and miss.
Yeah, the thing is, Zach, too, you mentioned he's a developmental piece. I think we've been saying he's a developmental piece for like the last 4 years here. And at one point, it's either got to click or it's got to go.
100%. Also, the Packers don't really have a ton of success lately in developing wide receivers. Like, I don't know how much I credit Devonta Adams' success to the Packers developing him.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know. Now, there's like 3 other ones. It's depth pieces for running back and tight end. We can talk about them. Obviously, running back top 2 is set. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Kylan Hill, the rookie, I would assume, is running back 3. He is extremely talented. I think then the Packers keep 4 running backs, so it's probably between Dexter Williams and Patrick Taylor. Packers love Dexter Williams. He just never gets a chance. I don't know. I would be very surprised if they moved on from them, or from him, rather. Do either of you disagree with that?
I'd be very surprised as well. Dexter Williams is a guy in fantasy football. When Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon go down, he's the number 1 guy off the waiver wire and has like 2 good runs and then nothing else for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm. You muted.
I was muted. Yeah, I know. Plus, his name's cool. I mean, Dexter. You got to give him the edge right there.
Yeah. And the tight ends, like we said earlier, they're going to keep a bunch of them. So I think it's interesting. So obviously, Tunyon, Mercedes Lewis, 2 locks. DeGuara is technically a tight end. He's a lock. Do they go 5? Because I think they probably only do 4. And at that point, we may be looking at Jay Sternberger versus Dominique Daphne. And if that's the case, I mean, Sternberger is suspended and he's terrible at football. And Daphne has done nothing but just show he's been efficient in the very limited snaps, I guess. He hasn't done anything bad. Whereas Sternberger is the one that we have a lot invested in, but he is no good. I just don't understand why we even consider the thought of keeping him around personally. What about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about Sternberger being suspended, I don't care how much we had in him. Like, it's not like we gave him a year and he sucked. Like, he's been bad. And on top of that, I look at Daphne. He's a guy who, and I hate when everybody goes, "Oh, he's such a good story," right? But when I'm choosing between a guy who sucks and is suspended, between a guy who I know is much less likely to have those problems, and I know, hey, guess what? Rodgers is not afraid to throw him the ball. It's only been twice, but still, I'm going to pick Daphne every single time. It's easy.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I'm almost wondering, kind of going back to my build up on tight ends because of the running, I almost wonder if they want to keep Sternberger more for the play action receiving tight end. Obviously, we talked about it. He's not a great player, but I think that they use him more in the passing game, obviously, than Dominic Daphne, because Daphne's only got 2 catches. But that's the only thing that is jumping out at me of why they would keep Sternberger if they're going with this rushing attack that maybe I just made this up in my head, but that I think that they're going to go with. But I'm with you guys. You guys know my thoughts on Dominic Daphne. I love the guy. I would love to see him on the team. I think they should keep him on the team, but the whole play action, tight end pop pass, tight end corner out, whatever, that kind of worries me a little bit to keep Sternberger on the team.
I guess, hey, I'm a big Daphne supporter too. I think I speak for Zach when I say he is as well. We're Daphne's dudes here, okay? 3 dudes that love Dominique Daphne, and we need to get him on the podcast for sure.
Fair enough. Obviously, Dominique Daphne's listening. We don't know about Aaron Rodgers, but Daphne's for sure listening. I'll send you the link. You can pop in whenever you want. But to your point, Luke, like, we know Tunyon, he can block a little bit, but he's clearly the receiving tight end, whereas Mercedes Lewis is the blocker. DeGuara was drafted to be a blocker, essentially like a fullback tight end blocker. So if we need somebody to fill in behind Tunyon, I would assume they want to keep Sternberger for that role. I just don't know what evidence you have to say that Daphne is a worse receiver than Jay Sternberger.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I think it's kind of like Brady and being the best. You have to bring up Super Bowls. If you want to say he's the best, you got to bring up college because there's no other way.
Right. Yeah. NFL-wise, he's done nothing at all. And then the only other thing on the offense, I guess, is quarterback 3. If we have to keep 3 quarterbacks, I really don't like it, but I think we probably do that again. So we're talking about Ben Kurt or Blake Bortles. And everyone knows where I stand. But the thing is, we know what the Packers have done so far, and that is giving Blake Bortles like 2 reps per practice. And he usually bombs it. He like doesn't even check down. He just whips it to Bailey Gaither 80 yards downfield and makes a touchdown. Or burning whoever, Kevin King's on basically. But I don't know. Do you guys, if they go quarterback 3, do you think they go Ben Kurt or do you think it's going to be Bortles? Because I can tell you the majority of Packers reporters are thinking Ben Kurt.
I think it's going to be Ben Kurt. I hope it's Bortles, though. Bortles like the middle child of the Packers quarterback room. Like, nobody pays attention to him, but he's actually quietly really good. Whereas Jordan Love, I envision as the youngest kid who constantly gets arrested and gets into trouble. But beside the point, like you said, they're not giving Bortles reps, and I don't think the Packers would ever admit it, but Ben Kurt's slowly becoming somewhat of a fan favorite. So I wouldn't be surprised if they give him the nod just because of that, because, I mean, they kind of have to go into PR mode a little bit here as well. So, and I think they have they see a higher ceiling for a longer future with Ben Kurt than with Bortles. Should that be the way they do it? No, but that's what I think they'll do.
Yeah, in my mind here, you're deciding between a AFC Championship attendee, I guess, or a Falcons number 3 quarterback. It's fairly obvious to me that it is Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles is a better quarterback. I think Blake Bortles could start on some teams, honestly, in the NFL. But I agree with you, Trevor. It makes sense that that a team like this, who's seemingly is not helping Aaron Rodgers, is trying to move on in more than one spot at quarterback, and grabbing 2 young guys because for whatever reason, I don't know if we've ever seen young quarterbacks be good in Super Bowl contending teams other than Patrick Mahomes. But I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be a lot more interesting hypothetically if Aaron Rodgers is not on the team to see what they do. But I agree with you guys. I think Ben Kurt is getting the opportunity, or not even getting the opportunities, but he's getting the looks, maybe the opportunities more than Blake Bortles. And I wonder if they just brought both of them in to fill a spot in training camp and off season, and it's a fight off for one of them. That's what it sounds like it is.
My thought process, first off, if they have Aaron Rodgers back, I hope they don't keep 3 quarterbacks, but I think they probably will. And if that's the case, I would assume they go with Blake Bortles. You need an experienced backup quarterback and just helping the starters see the game and stuff. I mean, Ben Kurt has his mind on his esports team, whatever gaming league he's in. He's playing games, not studying the playbook. And so I would assume they keep Bortles for that reason. If Love gets the starting job, hey, I am fairly loud in my opinions, and I'm going to be leading the Blake Bortles charge. So why would they keep someone who I am going to say should be the starter when they're trying to go with Jordan Love? Like, I'm going to make sure that is chanted at games. I will be there. So that'd be stupid. But, one way to think about it, I think if Rodgers does come back and with Blake Bortles, like they specifically targeted Blake Bortles because he knew a lot of the terminology and the offense and stuff like that. And Ben Kurt doesn't know the offense. Ben Kurt came from something completely different. I know there's a little bit of familiarity because of the Falcon stuff, but not much. So maybe Bortles wasn't throwing, in minicamp because he doesn't need to. Maybe it's because he already knows the offense. They already know what they have in Bortles. If they need him, he can be signed on the team and start right away, So there's a chance I can get myself a Blake Bortles jersey yet. I'm holding out hope. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about on the offense, though?
think we hit it all.
I think so too. No, defense. I think this is the biggest competition in terms of starters, and I think that's the cornerback 2 spot. I think it's fully up for grabs. It's Kevin King versus Eric Stokes. Whether you believe it absolutely needs to be Eric Stokes over Kevin King or not, I think it's full-on competition, and I don't think they know who's going to start there yet. Do you see that differently, Trevor?
I don't think they know, to be honest. Don't think the Packers front office or executives really know a whole lot. I mean, if we've learned anything, um, I, I think what's happening though right now is they're scared, and here's why. They just gave Kevin King way too much fucking money, like way too much. I get his contract is nice, it works well, but still, optics wise, it doesn't look good. Um, I think Stokes has to play out of his mind for them to rationalize again. PR perspective, they're all from the looks of it. You can't give Kevin King a contract like that after he played the way he did and then not have him be the second cornerback. I think that's how they're going to look at it. And I think the way they see it is we can bench Stokes and say he's a rookie and just like that'll be fine. People will be fine with that. But if we put on Stokes ahead of King, that sounds alarm bells. And I think that's the last thing they're going to want to do.
I almost wonder if they're going to put it. What I think is probably Kevin King will get to start week 1 because he's been there. He's played football. He played professional football before, whether it be good or not here or there. I almost wonder come week 4, week 5, middle of the season that they run into like a matchup thing where they kind of sub in and out based on matchups, whether it be Kevin King guarding a bigger guy, Eric Stokes guarding a faster guy, whatever. Here it is. But I that's something that popped into my head as you brought that up, Zach. But I do think that Kevin King has the upper hand in this situation due to his experience playing. Not great, but he's been in this defense before. He should know what to do. He kind of has an idea. He doesn't been in the defense, but he's played with the players. Has an idea what to do, and I don't know. It'll be interesting because I think that matchup thing with Stokes and King might be an interesting way to go this year.
I think it would be too. And even just though competing for this second cornerback job, I think it's really an interesting competition just because we've seen Kevin King play. He's made some good plays. He's made a lot of bad plays. I don't think he's good enough to be the second corner. Eric Stokes, I think there's a lot of rookie in him. I think there's going to be a lot of mental mistakes, a lot of grabbing, a lot of flags. And I don't think he's ready to start week 1. But clearly, he's got the physical tools and he was a first-round pick. Usually that means they should be starters. So I think it's a really interesting competition to watch. I agree with you guys. I think Kevin King's going to get that week 1 start. How long it lasts, who knows? But then if Kevin King gets that week 1 start, that leads to even more question marks now. So, and this is what I find really interesting because now we got to talk about the third cornerback. We got to talk about nickel cornerback. We have to talk about all of that. And I'm just going to think out loud. This is what I think they may try to do based on what they've said, whether it's right or wrong, or what I believe to be right or wrong, whatever. So let's say Kevin King was the starting quarterback job. Jair Alexander, obviously, starting outside corner on the other side. Now we go to third down defense, nickel corner. I think they're probably going to slide Jair Alexander inside at the nickel, and I think they're going to put Stokes on the other island. Which, again, I don't think is a good decision, but I think that's what they're going to do. If they don't do that, though, because they've been talking about wanting to move Jair inside, which is stupid. But if they don't do that and they keep him outside, I mean, King has never played in the slot. Stokes is certainly not made for the slot. I think King should play in the slot. I think he'd be great at it, but he's never done it. Stokes has never played there, and I don't think they want to play him there. So now you're going to keep one of those two, possibly Stokes, off the field in a 3-cornerback set. And at that point, now you have Chandon Sullivan versus Shamar Jean-Charles. They're competing for that nickel spot. That's another competition. I think Sullivan, again, gets to start early in the year. If he starts to have some bad performances, that's where Shamar kind of comes in. Maybe he'll make some plays on special teams. Never know. But those are my thoughts, and I think it's really interesting. And I think it's a weirdly deep cornerback room, even though quality depth can be certainly questioned. But I think you have a lot of that same tier of players. What do you think, Luke?
I totally agree. It's a loaded cornerback room right now with those 5 guys that you listed off. And a lot of them are young. Like all of them are young, you know. So you don't really have that veteran guy who can be that rock in that corner. Obviously, Jair Alexander is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Don't tell that to ESPN though. And then
that's insane, man. Outside their top 5, that's unbelievable.
And then I don't know. The way I look at it, kind of looking at it as a fan and living in Green Bay here, I know that as soon as Eric Stokes gives up the touchdown, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, we drafted another Kevin King, blah blah blah. Why do we get this guy? There's so many other better guys." And I think that's almost what this defense scheme might be designed to do, is leaving these fast guys out on an island by themselves. So the whole thing I worry about is, his confidence getting shot right away when Traquan Smith burns him for a deep one week 1. So I don't know. They don't have that veteran that they need. They need that Tramon Williams, whatever, back again. Maybe not to play, just be that rock.
Good point.
This cornerback group reminds me of the wide receivers just in a way that they have an elite option, best in the league, and then there's a steep drop off, and the ones behind them are kind of all huddled together. It's going to be really interesting, and I feel like the other thing that's interesting about it is every year it seems like there is one player in the Packers secondary that in training camp comes out of nowhere and just balls out and earns a spot. So now if that happens, I mean, where do you cut ties? Obviously, if he is really doing well and he becomes a fan favorite, you can't cut him. Well, then who the hell do you cut? Because you don't have room for it. You obviously can't bring on 9 cornerbacks or anything, so it is going to be interesting. To be honest, I think the Packers kind of expect injuries and training camp to play this out. I really do, because the Packers aren't very durable. I think they're actually hinging on that. Where, we have nobody else, so we'll throw in Stokes. We have nobody else, so Shamar. Shouldn't be the way you operate, but I think that's going to be how they kind of have to handle it.
Your point. Someone always balls out in training camp you don't expect. And I named off 5 cornerbacks who are all locks to make the team. And how many cornerbacks are we going to keep? Are we going to keep 5, 6, 7? I would assume cornerback 6 is Josh Jackson. Josh Jackson, unbelievable college player. He has been moved around in training camp almost every single year until last year, where he got to finally just stay at outside corner where he is natural. What if he now balls out this year? What if he looks like the best, second best, maybe third best outside cornerback option? Now what are you going to do? Like, that would be the type of thing that would throw a wrench into absolutely everything. And it would be interesting to see how that plays out.
I'm wondering too if they keep more corners because of that, what I brought up, that inexperience, where they can just plug guys in and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then that also brings up, where are you going to cut ties? Because if you keep more cornerbacks, you got to cut ties somewhere.
Yeah.
That can get you to the quarterbacks, wide receivers. But if Josh Jackson does do well, that's a hell of a first 2 rounds for Gutekunst. Jair in the first, Josh Jackson in the second. Jeez.
And you talked about, you'd have to cut ties somewhere. And we've seen a certain Jacksonville quarterback play some multiple positions now. And I just think it may be time to make another Jacksonville quarterback play a few positions as well. I think maybe Blake Bortles is the multi-tool, the Swiss Army knife that this defense needs. What's to say you can't play cornerback? Maybe he's our box safety. I'd be afraid to see him there. I think it's a good idea.
Maybe he's the slot corner and just blow guys up at the line and don't do anything else.
Honestly, I think he's the punter. What is that pouch for in front? It's for holding cigs. That's what it's for.
Yeah. I don't think he'd do worse than JK, so might as well. Another The last competition I have here on the defensive side of the ball is inside linebacker. We saw recently the Packers finally made a veteran or even just a free agent signing in general. They signed Devondre Campbell. He's been starting at inside linebacker his entire career. He joins Chris Barnes and Kamal Martin at inside linebacker. So two of them are going to start. We need to figure out who that is. I honestly don't know what they would do. I hope they stick with Kamal Martin as a starter for sure. I would like to see him and Campbell start. Luke, do you have any idea what you think will happen or you want to happen?
I don't know. From what I saw last year before he got hurt, Kamal Martin, I thought was playing all right. Obviously he's not Devin Bush, Devin White, anything like that, but he's a guy who can fill holes. He can make tackles when needed. And in this new Joel Berry defense, I mean, we've talked about this position in depth for how many shows now. The guy can scream up and make tackles at the line, can get in the backfield, whatever. He seems a little faster than Chris Barnes to me, so I like that a little bit. So I'm going more that road. I think, Zach, you just said it, but I think Campbell is kind of like a lock to start in my mind.
I think so.
He's been around the block a little bit. He kind of knows how to play football. But I think as Kamal Martin develops, there's no better development than experience. And I think this is a guy that they need to develop by getting him that experience. And I think Joel Berry is perfect for Kamal Martin with his speed and his tenacity to get after the ball.
Obviously, football is a sport that you can never predict. Injuries come up, but this is intriguing too because we're arguing about, well, not arguing, but who should the two be? One flick of the switch, we can suddenly be in panic mode. And by we, I mean the Packers, because Warren Burks and Ty Summers, really, that's who's up next. It's top heavy, and there is nobody behind. So, I mean, the Packers, one guy can be hurt at a time max, because if not, you got to do some major shuffling here.
Yeah, especially before the Packers signed Campbell, we talked about just how thin the Packers are at inside linebacker. So yeah, even with the signing of Campbell, which I believe to be a great signing, but yeah, one injury and all of a sudden you're looking pretty thin. You're going to be asking a lot of guys to be playing every snaps on defense, and hopefully you don't turn an ankle. Hopefully you don't get the wind knocked out of you because we can't really afford it. You did bring up Warren Burks, and I wrote down his name and Dean Lowry's name as players who are on the bubble. Warren Burks because he can't play football. Dean Lowry because he's clearly a possibility to be a cap casualty. He would save a lot of money. You may ask, what would the Packers spend that money on? I don't think they even know. I don't think they know how to spend money. But he's certainly a name that could be cut. Better late than never, I suppose. Do you think either of them do get cut? Do you think they both make the team? I honestly have no idea because this would be more so reading Gutekunst than reading the players, I think. But do you guys have thoughts?
In my mind, kind of going back to the inside backer thing, I don't think Warren Burks makes it because I think, they run Campbell, they run Martin, they run Barnes, they use Ty Summers, and I think that at least last year they like to bring Adrian Amos up to kind of play that safety linebacker spot. So I'm wondering if they we can do it without Warren Burks. He's not really contributing much. So I think he gets cut before Dean Lowry. I know Dean Lowry saves the money or whatever, but I think in terms of having better players in your team, I'll say it. I think Dean Lowry is a better football player than Warren Burks, and I think he's going to be better at clogging up holes than Warren Burks would be.
I mean, if Warren Burks could have just did what he did the first 10 minutes of his first game before he got injured for the season and training camp, the Packers would have a great linebacker room, but he's been not good since. And I really don't see anybody I'd put him ahead of, except for maybe McDuffie, the guy we just drafted, who is like my height. I think he's got to go, and especially when you bring in his injury history, it's a problem. I get he's a linebacker, it's still a problem. And for Dean Lowry, I mean, at this point, I hope he stays. I really do. I do not like Dean Lowry. I do not think he's a great football player, but to your point, Luke, he's better than Warren Burks. And if we do cut him, well, what the hell were we doing the past how many months when we could have cut him and saved even more money? I don't know.
No kidding, but wouldn't that be very Packers to now cut him and now get the money and sign, I guess, other training camp casualties from around the league that shouldn't be on teams, I guess? I don't know.
Hey, if they used the money and signed Quan Alexander, he's still unsigned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they could use the money and get him, would never happen in a million years. But if they would, I would actually forgive him because this team needs linebackers.
Richard Sherman's still available too, I think.
He'll be available for another couple weeks, I think. He'll be
True.
available to sign, available in jail, wherever he is.
He fits my theme of wanting criminals on the Packers defense.
he does. You're not wrong. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Special teams, I guess there's going to be a competition for kick returner. I don't know what they do. They're probably just going to plug Amari Rodgers in there just so we don't drop it. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts about special teams, really?
Joe Fortunato or Hunter Bradley is the question on all fans' minds, I think. At long snapper, you have the guy who he signed who hasn't played football in like a decade and has a cool name against a white guy that somehow was drafted in 2018. Talk about a draft class. You get him in the 7th, that's a steal. But do they keep 2 long snappers here? And if so, who's the casualty?
I mean,
maybe they do. I guess I don't know.
Nobody else is talking about this. You can't tell me anybody else is because I know it's a lie.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, if we're just talking about long snappers here, it's Fortunato is not going to see one single inch of football field come like second week in training camp. I think it makes no sense why they brought him in my mind. I don't think Hunter Bradley's job is in jeopardy. I don't think, long snapper is hard to be bad at. But who knows? I don't know. It seems fairly obvious to me that Hunter Bradley is going to be the long snapper.
I'll make the take that I don't think Fortunato snaps it to J.K. Scott once in practice. I'm pretty confident in that.
Yeah.
I think he may possibly snap to the other punter that we have in. I think he may be put into some preseason games to take a couple hits, and that's about it. I can't imagine he does anything. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Since we always have a question, I'll leave us on this. It's not Packers related. Is DK Metcalf the most overrated athlete of all time? And I leave you with this. Wide receiver, he can't run routes. He's a really fast runner, went to a race, 9th out of 9. Now, hey, we'll be in the MLB All-Star or celebrity softball game, first athlete ever to strike out. This guy can't do anything, really. So, what's his deal?
He's got cool workout videos.
Yeah.
I would also like to say, even, who is it? JoJo Siwa or whatever, whoever that chick was. I don't know if she's famous. Even she got a hit. She got a double, too. So that's even more embarrassing. Not that she can't play, but dude, if you're a football player and you're in the Olympics and you're built like that, you better be able to hit a damn ball if a 16-year-old can, no matter the gender or whatever. We're not going to go into that, but you get my point.
I believe she's 17, Trevor.
Why you know that? Little concerning, but
hey, I got my TikTok account back, so that's why I know it. I was banned for about a year and a half.
Oh God, we don't need to ask why. Don't ask why.
I want to know for what.
Leaving distasteful comments. I'll leave it at that.
JoJo Siwa's TikTok.
Yeah, no, not hers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was Addison Rae, that bitch.
We will leave on that note. We are now an anti-Addison Rae podcast.
Yeah.
This was Lombardi Sweep.
Title is Addison Rae is a bitch? ? And everybody be like, I thought this was a Packers podcast.
Hey, shout out Italy for winning the Euros too.
Oh, thank God we got our Italy shout out in.
The motherland.
If we're doing shout outs, go to flurrysports.org, hit shop in the top right if you want one of these sick Rudy Gobert super spreader shirts.
Or if you're a fan of Milwaukee and you like Terrible Cities, hey, I just bought a Terrible City hoodie. It looks slick. Hey, they even have mugs. Who said Flurry Sports couldn't get into the homeware business? Okay, we're saying we can, and they look good. So,
and as soon as Aaron Rodgers comes back to the team, day one of that announcement, I have a cool design ready to go. So, hey, Packers related. Maybe we'll get an Addison Rays a bit shirts in there too. Never know. All proceeds will go to Luke for that. But yeah, this was Lombardi sweep. Bucks are on after this. Let's see if they tie up that series.
Bucks and 6.
Bucks in, sure. Okay. Anyways,